All right, get ready to dive into something pretty unique today. We're going deep on this concept called alternative logic
Yeah.
from this piece of Chinese writing. And lucky for us, we've got an expert here to unpack all the good stuff.
Well, thanks for having me. It's a really fascinating piece. Really makes you think outside the box.
Awesome. So before we get into the specifics, can you give us a quick overview? Like, what exactly is this alternative logic?
Sure. Well, imagine you have a mental toolbox,
Yeah.
right? But instead of like wrenches and hammers, it's full of different approaches for any situation.
I like that. So it's not just about, like, finding synonyms, like being a walking thesaurus or something.
Oh, no, it's more than that. It's about breaking free from those phrases we always use without thinking, those mental ruts.
Right, right.
It's like expanding your option, like whether you're trying to explain something or solve a problem, or even just getting through your to-do list, but differently.
So it's almost like training your brain to be more flexible.
Exactly. And the source material actually gives us some concrete examples of how this works. For instance, the author mentions how tired they are of the overused phrase, "Gay Joe." It means like, ruined my 3 views.
Oh, I totally get that. It's like when you hear a phrase so much, it loses all its meaning.
Yeah, exactly. So instead of just repeating that same old phrase, the author suggests finding other ways to express yourself, ones that really capture what's going on.
Okay, I'm listening.
For example, they suggest phrases like, his reckless behavior, well, just left me speechless, or his style, it's really unlike anything I've ever seen.
Interesting. So instead of relying on a cliche, you actually have to, like, stop and think about what you're trying to say.
Right, and when you do that, you create a much more vivid picture for whoever's listening. They really get a sense of what you're feeling.
Okay, so we're seeing how this alternative logic thing applies to language. But I'm curious, does the author take it beyond writing?
Oh, definitely. They actually apply it to all sorts of things, from creative thinking to problem solving, even productivity.
Now that's what I'm talking about. Tell me more.
Well, for starters, they really emphasize having backup plans, like having diverse skills. They even use a real-world example to illustrate this.
Okay.
Remember when ChatGPT crashed?
Oh, yeah. Everyone who depended on it was in a frenzy.
Exactly. And the author's point is, that situation really showed the downside of relying too much on any single tool or approach.
I see. So alternative logic is about having a plan B or even C and D so you don't freak out when things go sideways?
Precisely.
Yeah.
If you've got those alternative logic pathways, you're naturally more adaptable, more resilient. You can adjust and find other solutions when the usual way isn't working.
This is really making me rethink how I approach, well, everything.
And that's the cool thing about it. It applies to so much. Like the author compares it to video games.
Okay.
They say it's like the more skills you unlock in a game, the more challenges you can handle.
I love that analogy. So it's like you're building up your mental skill tree so you're ready for anything.
Exactly. And those skills could be different ways of thinking, practical knowledge, anything. It's all about diversifying your mental toolkit.
This is fascinating. I feel like we're just scratching the surface of alternative logic.
Yeah, there's so much more to explore. The source material really dives deep into how this concept can make us more creative and resourceful.
Okay, I'm hooked. Tell me everything.
All right, well, let's look at another example from the text. This time, the author talks about something a little more everyday, describing food.
Oh, food. I'm in.
They say even something simple like praising a dish can be more creative than just saying not too sweet. They encourage us to use more, well, descriptive language.
So instead of just delicious, we should try to describe the experience, like the taste and texture.
Yes, and they actually reference the work of this famous gourmand, Tang Lucen, who was known for his really vivid descriptions of food.
Man, now I'm getting hungry. So we're talking about finding those words that bring the experience to life.
Exactly. And this applies to more than just food. Whether you're talking about art or music or even your own feelings, the idea is to go beyond the obvious and find language that truly captures what you're trying to say.
I can already see how this would make my communication so much better. It's like giving your words a superpower.
And it all goes back to that core concept of alternative logic, finding those new creative ways to express yourself, to approach any situation.
Mind-blowing. Our listeners are definitely going to want to know how they can apply this to their own lives.
Well, that's where things get really interesting. You know that ChatGPT crash we were talking about? The author uses that example to bring up a bigger point about alternative logic and productivity.
Oh, interesting. I think a lot of our listeners will want to hear about this.
They argue that alternative logic isn't just about having a backup plan.
Okay.
It's about having, like, a whole bunch of skills and approaches so you're not stuck in one way of thinking.
So instead of just one path to your goal, you've got multiple routes, like a mental map with different ways to get where you're going.
That's a great way to put it. And the more routes you have on that map, the less likely you are to get lost when something unexpected happens.
Makes sense. So less panic, less feeling stuck when things go wrong.
Exactly. And this kind of ties back to that growth mindset idea, being able to adapt and learn from challenges.
Right, right. But how does this all connect back to being more productive?
Well, the author says that when you develop this alternative logic, you become more resourceful, more resilient. You're able to find creative solutions even when unexpected things pop up, and that ultimately makes you more productive.
So it's not about just working harder or faster, it's about working smarter, having those different approaches ready.
Exactly. And it takes us back to that video game analogy. Imagine you're playing a game, but you've only unlocked a few basic skills.
Okay.
You might hit a wall because you don't have the right tools or strategies for the tougher challenges.
So alternative logic is like leveling up your character, getting those new skills so you can keep progressing.
Exactly. Every new skill opens up more possibilities in the game. You can handle more, explore more.
So those skills in real life, those could be anything, right? Like learning a new language, new software, better time management.
Absolutely. And the more diverse your skills, the better you are at handling those big projects, solving problems, reaching your goals.
This is really making me think about my own personal growth too, not just productivity.
That's a great point. The author actually suggests that alternative logic can even bring more fulfillment and purpose to your life.
Oh, how so?
Well, you become more confident in your ability to deal with whatever life throws at you. And you can contribute more to the world around you.
This is making me want to go on a learning spree. So many new things to try.
That's the spirit. But remember, it's not about becoming an expert at everything.
Right.
It's about finding those specific skills that would really add value to your life, both personally and professionally.
So how do we figure out which alternative logic paths to focus on? Any hints in the source material?
Yeah, the author has a good suggestion. They say we should look at our current habits and routines.
Okay.
See if we're relying too much on a single way of doing things.
Like an alternative logic audit of our lives.
Exactly. Think about it. What do you struggle with? Are there any roadblocks that keep popping up? Are you way too dependent on certain apps, software, or methods?
That's a really practical way to figure out where those alternative logic paths would be most helpful.
Right. And once you've pinpointed those areas, then you can start experimenting with new tools, new techniques.
So it's about being proactive, seeking out those chances to learn and grow.
Exactly. And the more you do that, the easier it becomes to think in terms of alternative logic.
Yeah.
You start seeing those multiple perspectives naturally.
This is so empowering. It's like we can break free from those old ways of thinking and create new possibilities.
That's what it's all about. The author is really advocating for self-discovery, growth. The more you embrace alternative logic, the more you can unlock your true potential and make your life richer and more meaningful.
This whole deep dive has been so insightful. It feels like a brand new way to approach all those challenges and opportunities in life. But before we wrap up, does the author leave us with any final thoughts?
They do, actually. And it's a really powerful message that I think will resonate with everyone listening. They say alternative logic isn't just about getting things done or reaching some goal.
Oh, really? So there's more to it than being efficient and successful.
Yeah, it's deeper than that. They're talking about a mindset, like a way of approaching life with curiosity and open-mindedness, being willing to see things from different angles.
That's pretty powerful. So it's not about feeling limited, but seeing all the possibilities out there.
Exactly. It's about knowing there's always more than one way to do things and that every challenge is a chance to learn and grow.
Man, this deep dive has been incredible. I feel like I've learned so much, and I'm even more excited about what's possible now.
That's awesome to hear. That's what we were hoping for. Alternative logic isn't about finding the one right answer. It's about embracing all those different perspectives and never stopping learning.
And that's something our listeners can take with them, right? It's about becoming more adaptable, creative, resilient, not just to achieve something specific, but for the joy of seeing the world in new ways.
Absolutely. And remember those what-if moments. That's where the real magic happens, when you step outside your comfort zone and explore.
So to everyone listening, we encourage you to take this alternative logic idea and run with it. Try it out, see how it can change the way you work, create, solve problems, even just live your life.
Remember, it's a journey, this whole alternative logic thing. There's always something new to learn, new skills to get, new paths to try.
And we'll be here right alongside you, exploring those new ideas and diving deep into all that knowledge.
So until next time, keep those minds open, keep shifting those perspectives, and keep those creative juices flowing.
Happy diving, everyone!